I've only had this garage for a couple of months and I'm already running into some pretty significant issues with it. If you guys are considering going with a steel building, this is a video you're gonna wanna watch. So I just finished building my dream garage and the number one question I get asked most often is, how much did it cost? So today I'm gonna pull back the curtain and give you guys a complete cost breakdown on what it takes to make a building like this happen. So to be completely honest with you guys, I made some mistakes and I learned some tough lessons during this build. I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes that I did, so I'm going to tell you some of the things that I wish I had known before going with a steel building. If you're considering a steel building, chances are you're either a woodworker or you're a car guy like me. I make a ton of videos and I try really hard to make videos that guys like me would enjoy watching. So if you find this video helpful, it would really help me out if you'd consider liking and subscribing, or even just checking out some of the other builds I have on my channel. All right, enough of that. On to the real reason you're here. And probably the first thing you're gonna notice is that I am very bundled up and this building is very not insulated. That was never the plan. Actually, to be honest, none of this was the plan. I never planned on doing a steel building. We had a contractor that was gonna build a full wood frame construction building for us. It was gonna be wired, insulated, the whole 9 yards. We had agreed on a quote of $110,000 Canadian. Everything's gonna be in Canadian. I'll do the conversions on the screen. We remortgaged our house around that figure. We added a little bit for some wiggle room. And then once all that was done, he came back with a final quote of almost $40,000 more than that. Turns out you can't remortgage your house twice in 1 week, so we had to come up with a new plan. I started researching steel buildings and it seemed like we were gonna be able to do everything that we wanted to do and still come out under budget. I even thought I was gonna have money left over for hoists. Our budget was already set in stone. We bought the building and then we ended up going way over budget on a bunch of things. And I'm gonna tell you guys about that so that you know what to expect when you build a building like this. So the building itself is a prefabricated building made by Olympia Steel Buildings. It's made with galvanized framing. It's not a red iron building. It is 30 feet wide by 50 feet long. It's got 14-foot high walls and I believe it's 17.5 feet at the peak. And the first thing that I wish I knew was exactly what is and isn't included with the building when you purchase it. So the purchase price of the building includes shipping to your door. This building was $34,000 Canadian. One thing that I didn't realize, and there's nobody to blame but myself for this, is that they don't charge you the tax until the building actually ships, which is weeks or months after you purchase it. So when we got hit with another $6,000, that stung a little bit. Again, that's my own fault. I should have read the fine print. I thought the all-in price was the price, but that was not the case. The other thing that I wish I had known about with the shipping process is that you're responsible for unloading the building. I always assumed that the building would be one of those trucks that have the big forklift on the back. That's not the case. And you need a mother of a forklift to unload these things. I think they actually recommend a telehandler to do it. The frustrating part of that is that they're very lax with their delivery dates. They give you like a week window and you don't want to rent a telehandler for a week when you just need it for an afternoon. They don't give you an actual date until a few days before, and renting a specific piece of equipment like that super last minute, depending where you are, can be pretty tricky. Now in the kit, there were no huge surprises. Obviously the framing, the walls, the roof, all that stuff is included in the kit. The garage doors are pre-cut at the factory, and then the man door you cut on site when the building gets here so you can put it wherever you want it. And the trim for the doors is included based on how many doors you asked for when you ordered the building. Now this building is rated for Canadian winters. We've had a ton of snow this winter and the roof has held up just fine. It's rated for all that. It's a pretty shallow slope, but it's rated for the weight. It includes some really nice seamless eaves troughs. I thought they looked really nice, seamless, really beefy, but they are apparently not rated for the snow up here. One of the eaves troughs is already ripping clean off the building. I contacted the manufacturer. They basically said sucks to suck and they're not replacing it. So take their warranty with a grain of salt because that is apparently a wear item. It's been, 3 or 4 months and it's already ripping off the building. It's very disappointing and very frustrating. So if you live somewhere that gets any amount of snow, maybe consider some snow stops or do some sort of preventative maintenance. We're gonna have to replace the eaves trough on that side and we'll definitely be installing snow stops. I figured with the gradual angle of the roof, it wouldn't be necessary, but apparently it is. Before the building could go up, we had to prepare the land. We were on a pretty significant hill and there were a ton of trees here. Luckily, we were able to do most of that work ourselves. I had to have an arborist come in and give us a quote for some of the more dangerous trees. I believe there was 8 of them, and he gave us a quote around $10,000. Luckily, I have a friend who's an arborist. He came in and was able to do the work for just $2,000. So that saved us a ton of money and headache there. Once the lot was ready, it was time to put the driveway in. That was really exciting. The culvert itself was $1,400 because the requirements in this township are absolutely insane. They want an entrance fit for a king. The permits for the driveway and the building itself were another $2,000, and then the gravel for the driveway and the area surrounding the building were another $3,000. Palms are starting to get sweaty adding these numbers up. Now with the lot prepared and the entrance in, it was finally time for concrete. And this was the part that we went over budget the most on. It was kind of a frustrating process trying to figure out how to budget for this because you can't, I called around and nobody can give you a quote without drawings for the concrete. You're not able to get drawings for the concrete without having the drawings for the building, and you can't get drawings for the building without paying for the building. So it was kind of a gamble. We took an educated guess, talked to some people that were friends that work in construction, and we had budgeted between $25,000 and $30,000 for concrete. It ended up being $45,000 for concrete. That sucked. That ate up a lot of the budget. So if you're wondering why it's not insulated, it's because we have a lot of concrete underneath us. When you pay for the building, it sounds like you have two options for concrete. Olympia offers a kit called an Econo Slab. That gets shipped to you with the building, and it basically has everything you need to do the concrete yourself. It comes with the rebar, the forms, the wire, all that stuff, and it's supposed to be more DIY friendly. I thought about it a lot and did a bunch of research, watched YouTube videos, and it seemed like it was something that was beyond my skill set, especially for a building this size. If I was just doing like a one-car garage or something, I probably would have tried it, but I didn't want to risk it for a building this size and this expensive. That Econo Slab kit is $15,000 shipped to your door, and that doesn't include the price of the concrete. And it's my understanding that the concrete is the expensive part. So we had this slab drawn up by an engineering firm. It is 6 inches at its thinnest, and it is 18 inches at the perimeter. It tapers out to the thickened edge all the way around, and it also has thickened channels running throughout it. So my stipulation with the engineering firm is I wanted to be able to put a car hoist anywhere in this building, and I think that's why it's so thick. We also have to deal with frost heaving and stuff like that up here. So if you live somewhere that's a little bit warmer year round, you are not gonna have to go this overkill on your slab. The guys that did the concrete also did the building for us, and they were gracious enough to unload the building for us when they got here, and that saved us a couple $1,000s in rentals. I so badly wanted to put this building up myself. I had done a whole bunch of research on it, and I'm pretty confident that if it was a smaller building, much like the concrete, we probably would have tried it ourselves. But for something that we had just spent a ton of money on concrete and spent a ton of money on the building, I figured that we should probably leave it to professionals. I also wanted it done in a timely manner, and there's no way that I would have got something like this up in a respectable amount of time. So that was another thing that ate up a lot of the budget. We had called around and got some quotes, and we got numbers anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000. We were lucky that the guys that did the concrete, actually, the owner has an almost identical building on his property. He let us come check the building out before we went with them. They offered to do it for us because he had just recently done it himself, so he knew what he was doing. And it was very nice being able to keep everything in-house. It was all done by one company. That price was also just for the bare bones building. If we had opted for the roll insulation, that would have increased the cost of putting the building up, but I'll get into that stuff later. It sucked spending that much money just to have the building put up, but at least it was done, and that was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders knowing that the building was up and standing and we had made it to that big milestone. So the doors are not included in this building. After I went and checked out the builder's shop, he talked me into these things. They're called high lift doors. I'd never even heard of them before. The openings are 10 by 10 for the garage doors, and high lift just means it opens higher than that 10-foot mark. These things open to over 12 feet high, and I opted for those because I should be able to fit a hoist underneath them when they're open. It's only a couple $100 more, but it was well worth the investment, I think. The two garage doors came out to, I think, $7,500. They're insulated, high lift. I budgeted 10 grand for the garage door, so that came out under budget, which was really nice. And the man door I just got for free off Facebook Marketplace, and I threw some new hardware and some paint on it. Another huge headache for this building was getting hydro to it. From where I'm sitting to the panel on our house is like a 30-foot elevation change. The panel's on the far side of our house, and our septic tank and stuff like that is in the way. So there's no realistic way of getting hydro from our house to the building. So we ended up having to run separate lines, separate service, all of that stuff, and it started to add up. Getting the power just run to the building was $2,300. Getting the panel permits and all that stuff put in was another $7,500. I don't know how much I expected to spend, but it was definitely not that much money. We were beyond financially tapped out at that point, but we were so close. Like I just wanted the building to be usable. So we Ended up getting just half of the building wired for now. That half's mostly storage anyways, so it's not a big deal to me. We already have, you know, 3 times more outlets than I had in my little 2-car garage, so I'm very happy with what we've got so far. I splurged a little bit on the lights because I need to film videos in here and it's got to look good. That, I think, was another $3,500 for all of that to be done, and I'm very happy that we did because I'm actually out here, I'm working, I'm having a blast, I get to play with my cars, it's great. So back to the insulation. It's the part that I have been feeling the most this winter. It's been a very cold winter. It's not been very friendly out here. I was quoted $7,300 by Olympia to have their roll insulation shipped with the building. And as I mentioned before, that would have increased the price per square foot of having the building itself put up. And I've also heard that that roll insulation isn't the best insulation in the world. I'm worried because I throw a lot of sparks and stuff out here that I'd be melting the plastic liner on it and things like that. Before I opted out of that insulation, I called around to a few spray foam places and I got quotes for anywhere between $11,000 for 2 inches of spray foam up to 20 grand for 4 inches of spray foam. So at that 2-inch mark, that was kind of a no-brainer for me. It was way better insulation, and the biggest selling point was that I could push the cost to a later date because we had no money left. And I imagine with the extra cost of putting the building up with roll insulation, it probably would have worked out to a very similar price point for better insulation. Since posting the video on this entire build, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I had a lot of contractors in the comments telling me that I need to look into rock wool insulation. Something I've never heard of before, but apparently it is definitely the way to go. It's really good insulation, it's flame proof, it's really good sound deadening, which is nice for a workshop, and it seems like it's gonna be pretty cheap. I have done some rough pricing, and I think I can probably do the entire inside of this building for like 8 to 10 grand, and that includes actually like sheathing the inside with plywood or drywall or whatever I end up doing. And the other 2 quotes didn't include that price. So it's pretty tempting. It's a little bit more work for me, but for 8 to 10 grand for good insulation, I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments. So the grand total for a building like this comes out to a whopping $140,000. If you guys are considering doing a building like this, definitely add 10 or 20% to what you expect to spend. You can't account for everything. We got nickel and dimed on lots of small things and permitting and just things that you don't think about when you've never done a build like this before. If you guys enjoyed watching, I appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.